Captain Jaiho Park stood at the main window of the Earth Dreadnought ship Thunderstorm, watching the stars drift by. The massive ship was Earth's pride. A kilometer long, armed with the most powerful weapons humans had ever built. Today marked its 100th day of patrol in the outer edges of human space. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange." Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim's voice broke the quiet on the bridge. The young science officer was frowning at his screens. "The energy readings. I've never seen anything like this before." Jaiho walked over to Hae-Nul's station. The display showed waves of purple energy spreading across their sensor range. "Show me the pattern analysis," he ordered. "Yes, sir." Hae-Nul's fingers moved quickly across the controls. The energy seems to be moving in very specific paths, almost like roads in space. The captain leaned closer to the screen. In his 15 years of space service, he had never seen anything like this. The purple energy lines crossed and connected like a giant web in space. Some of the lines were thick and bright, while others were thin and barely visible. "Get Chief Engineer Cho up here," Jaiho ordered. "She needs to see this." Minutes later, Sun Ma-Cho arrived on the bridge, her engineering uniform slightly messy from working in the engine room. Her eyes widened when she saw the readings. "This is impossible," she whispered. "These energy patterns, they look like some kind of faster-than-light travel network. But it's completely different from our jump drives." "Could someone have built this?" Jaiho asked. "Built it?" Sun Ma laughed softly. "Captain, this network is huge. The amount of energy and technology needed to create something like this, it would take hundreds, maybe thousands of years." "Sir," Hae-Nul called out suddenly. "Something's coming through one of the energy lines." The bridge crew watched in amazement as a ship appeared from nowhere, sliding out of the purple energy like a fish jumping from water. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, smooth and silver, with no visible engines or weapons. 2 more ships followed it, equally strange and beautiful. "They're hailing us," reported Myra Song from the communication station. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. This was humanity's first contact with an obviously advanced alien civilization. "Put them on screen," Jaiho ordered, straightening his uniform. The main screen lit up, and the bridge crew gasped. The alien commander looked human. Completely human. He wore a uniform of shining metal cloth, and his face showed both surprise and anger. "I am Admiral Yong-Soo Lee of the Galactic Concordat," the commander said in perfect English. "You have entered restricted space. Your presence here is a violation of Concordat law. Power down your systems immediately and prepare to be boarded." Jaiho felt a chill run down his spine. The commander was speaking English. He had a Korean name. But humanity had never met the Galactic Concordat before. How was this possible? "I am Captain Jaiho Park of the Earth Dreadnought ship Thunderstorm," he replied calmly. "We are on a routine patrol, and we're unaware of any restricted space. We're willing to discuss this diplomatically." Admiral Lee's face hardened. "There will be no discussion. You have 10 minutes to surrender, or we will open fire. The human race is not ready for what you have discovered here. This is your only warning." The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Jaiho looked at his crew. Their faces showed confusion, fear, and determination. They had trained for first contact situations, but nothing like this. Nothing like meeting a human who commanded alien ships and threatened their destruction. "Battle stations," Jaiho ordered quietly. "Chief Cho, get those shields to full power. Whatever we've stumbled into here, I have a feeling we're about to make history." The alarm began to sound throughout the massive ship, and the Thunderstorm's crew prepared for what would become the most important battle in human history. The 10 minutes felt like hours on the Thunderstorm's bridge. Captain Jaiho Park watched the 3 alien ships on the main screen, their silver hulls gleaming against the darkness of space. The purple energy lines of the mysterious network glowed behind them, creating an eerie backdrop. "Shield status," Jaiho asked, keeping his voice steady for his crew. "Shields at maximum power, Captain," Chief Engineer Sun Macho reported from her station. "I've routed extra power from non-essential systems. Whatever they throw at us, we'll be ready." Lieutenant Hae Kim spoke up from the science station. "Sir, I'm detecting energy buildups in the alien vessels. They're charging weapons. 8 minutes until their deadline." Communications Officer Myra Song announced, her fingers hovering over her controls. "Should I try hailing them again?" Jai-Ho nodded. "One more try." The main screen lit up again, showing Admiral Lee's face. His expression was cold, but Jai-Ho noticed something else in his eyes. Fear. "Admiral," Jai-Ho said calmly, "there's no need for violence. We can talk about this. How is it that you're human? Why haven't we heard of the Concordat before?" "You ask too many questions," Lee snapped. "That's always been humanity's problem. Always wanting to know more, to push boundaries, to break rules. The galaxy has order, Captain Park. The Concordat maintains that order. Humanity's chaos has no place here." 6 minutes, Myra whispered. Jai-Ho tried again. "If you're human, you must understand." "I haven't been human for 300 years, Lee interrupted. "The Concordat found me when I was a young explorer, just like you. They showed me the truth, that humanity's endless questioning and innovation would bring disaster to the galaxy. We changed too much, too fast. The Concordat offers stability." Suddenly, Hae shouted, "Energy spike! They're firing." Bright beams of green light shot from the alien ships, hitting the Thunderstorm's shields. The bridge crew held their breath, waiting for impact. But instead of the expected explosion, the shields glowed with a beautiful blue light. The enemy weapons seemed to dissolve into harmless energy. "Shields holding at 95%. Sunmai reported excitedly. "Captain, their weapons. They're not as advanced as we thought. Our quantum-entangled shields are actually stronger." On the screen, Admiral Lee's face showed shock. "Impossible. Your shield technology. It can't be this advanced. We've monitored Earth's progress carefully." "Maybe you missed something," Jai-Ho replied, feeling more confident now. "Humanity has come far. Admiral, we don't need your permission to advance. All ships, full attack," Lee ordered. More green beams struck the thunderstorm from all directions. The shield continued to glow, absorbing each hit. "Shields still at 89%, Sunmai reported. "Their weapons are based on old principles. Our shields were designed to handle much more powerful attacks." Jai-Ho stood from his captain's chair. "Target their weapon systems only. Show them we can fight back, but don't destroy their ships." The Thunderstorm's advanced plasma cannons fired with precision. Blue energy bolts struck each enemy ship exactly where their weapon systems were located. The green attack beams stopped immediately. "Enemy weapons disabled," reported Security Chief Jin Woo Choi from Tactical Control. "Their shields are much weaker than ours. We could disable their engines too, if you give the order." Admiral Lee's face had lost its coldness, replaced by disbelief. "This changes nothing," he said, but his voice shook slightly. "The Concordat fleet will come. Hundreds of ships. You've only delayed the inevitable." The screen went dark again, and the 3 alien ships quickly retreated into the purple energy network, disappearing from view. "Should we follow them?" Jinwoo asked. Jai-Ho smiled. "No. First, we need to understand what we're dealing with. Hanul, start analyzing that network. Sunma, I want to know everything about why our shields worked so well. Mayray, send a coded message to Earth Command. Tell them the galaxy is bigger than we thought, and humanity just proved we're ready for it." 2 hours after the battle, the senior officers of the Thunderstorm gathered in the ship's main conference room. Chief Engineer Sun Ma-Cho stood at the front, with complicated diagrams floating in the air behind her. The room was quiet as everyone waited to hear why their shields had worked so well against the alien weapons. It's actually quite simple, Sun Mai began, pointing to the first diagram. The Concordat's weapons are based on breaking down shield energy patterns, but our shields don't use patterns at all. We use quantum entanglement, connecting particles across space. Captain Jai-Ho Park leaned forward. Explain it in simpler terms, Chief. Why couldn't they break through? Sun Mi smiled and picked up a pen from the table. Imagine trying to cut a string. The Concordat's weapons are like very good scissors. They can cut any string. But our shields aren't string at all. They're more like shadows. You can't cut a shadow. That's why their weapons couldn't harm us. But how did we develop such advanced technology without them noticing? Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim asked, looking up from his datapad. Because we approached the problem differently, Sun Mai explained. The Concordat has been using the same shield technology for thousands of years. They kept trying to make it stronger in the same way, like trying to make a stronger and stronger string. But humans asked different questions. We didn't try to make the old technology better. We created something completely new. Security Chief Jin Woo Choi spoke up from his corner of the room. Can we share this technology with other ships from Earth? We already have, Sun Mai said. Every new ship in Earth's fleet uses these shields. We thought we were preparing for unknown threats. We didn't know we were actually getting ready to face the Concordat. Captain Park stood up and walked to the window. The purple energy lines of the alien network still glowed in the distance. They'll be back, he said quietly. Admiral Lee won't let this go. We need to understand more about this network they're using. I've been studying it, Hae-Nul said, bringing up his own diagrams. It's like a highway system in space. Ships enter these energy streams and travel faster than light. It's more efficient than our jump drives. But there's something strange about it. What do you mean? Jai-Ho asked. The network. It feels artificial. Too perfect. Like someone built it to control how everyone travels through space. Hae-Nul pointed to different parts of the network map. Look at these connections. They all lead to specific places. If you control this network, you control where everyone can go. Communications Officer Myra Song, who had been quiet until now, suddenly straightened in her chair. Captain, I've decoded more of their transmissions. Admiral Lee wasn't lying about their fleet. Hundreds of ships are gathering. But that's not the worst part. Everyone turned to look at her. Mayre's face was pale as she continued. They're not just coming to stop us. They're afraid of us. Their messages keep talking about containing the human infection and preventing the spread of chaos. They want to stop Earth from sharing its technology with other species. Jai-Ho looked around the room at his crew. They had all trained together, worked together, but none of them had expected to be in this position. Standing between Earth and a powerful alien alliance that wanted to keep humanity trapped in its own corner of space. Well, he said finally, we can't let them succeed. Sun Mi, I want you to document everything about our shield technology. Hae-Nul, keep studying that network. Mayre, find us every scrap of information you can about the Concordat. And Jinwoo, prepare our weapons. Not for a fight, but to show them we can defend ourselves. As his officers left to carry out their orders, Jai-Ho stayed by the window, watching the purple energy streams. Somewhere out there, Admiral Lee was gathering his fleet. But this time, humanity wouldn't be caught unprepared. This time, they would show the galaxy that innovation couldn't be controlled. Captain Jai-Ho Park called his senior officers to the bridge. The main screen showed the glowing purple streams of the Concordat's travel network stretching out before them. After 3 days of studying the network, they had to make a decision. Tell me what we know, Jai-Ho said to his crew. Navigator Da-Hyun Kang stepped forward. He was the youngest officer on the bridge, but his understanding of space travel was exceptional. Sir, we've mapped enough of the network to try using it. The energy streams work like rivers in space. If we enter one, it should carry us faster than light speed. Should? Security Chief Jinwoo asked, raising an eyebrow. It will work, Newell said confidently from his science station. The physics are different from our jump drives, but they're not complex. The Concordat didn't create this network. They just found it and claimed it. That's why they're so afraid of us studying it. Jai-Ho turned to Mireya Communications. What have you learned from their transmissions? The Concordat fleet is still gathering, but slowly, she reported. They have to travel along specific paths in the network. They don't have our jump drive technology. If we enter the network now, we can move much more freely than they can. And our shields? Jai-Ho asked, looking at Chief Engineer Sunmei. Stronger than ever, she replied with a small smile. I've made some improvements. The Concordat's weapons didn't just fail to hurt us. They actually made our shields stronger. Each hit taught our quantum systems more about their technology. Jai-Ho stood quietly for a moment, considering their options. They could return to Earth and wait for the Concordat fleet. That would be the safe choice. But it would also mean giving up the chance to learn more about this powerful alliance that had been keeping humanity isolated. Da-Hyun, he said finally, can you get us into that network? The young navigator nodded. Yes, sir. I've been studying their entry patterns. We need to match the energy frequency of the stream, and basically, we need to dive in like it's a river. And you can navigate once we're inside. The streams have currents and junctions. I've mapped the main routes. We won't get lost. Da-Hyun's confidence was reassuring. Mireya, keep monitoring their communications. Newell, scan for any signs of their technology. Sunmei, keep those shields strong. Jinwoo, weapons ready but not charged. We're not looking for a fight. Jai-Ho straightened in his captain's chair. Let's show them what happens when you try to keep humanity in a cage. The thunderstorm moved forward slowly. On the main screen, the nearest purple energy stream grew larger. It looked like a river of light flowing through space. Matching energy frequency, Da-Hyun reported, his hands moving smoothly over his controls. Entry point identified. We'll need full power to break through the barrier. All hands, prepare for network entry, Jai-Ho announced shipwide. This might be rough. The ship's engines hummed louder. The purple stream filled their view. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered, and space itself seemed to bend around them. Barrier penetrated, Da-Hyun called out. We're in the stream. The view outside changed completely. They were surrounded by flowing purple energy. The ship moved faster and faster, but the ride was surprisingly smooth. Multiple Concordat ships detected. Newell reported excitedly. But they're not in our stream. They can see us, but they can't reach us. On the communication screen, they could see the panic spreading through the Concordat fleet. Messages flashed back and forth. Impossible. How are they using the sacred paths? They're heading toward the core systems. Jai-Ho smiled as his ship raced through the ancient network. The Concordat had spent thousands of years building their power on control of these paths, but they never imagined that humans would simply figure out how to use them better. The thunderstorm emerged from the purple energy stream near what appeared to be a massive space station. The structure was built into an asteroid, with thousands of lights glowing across its surface. This was the Concordat's central archive, according to the navigational data they had decoded. No defense systems detected, Security Chief Jinwoo reported from his station. They never expected anyone to reach this place without permission. Captain Jai-Ho Park studied the station through the main viewport. Mireya, can you access their data network from here? Communications Officer Mireya was already working at her console. Yes, Captain. Their security is strong, but it's based on very old protocols. Our modern systems can break through easily. Download everything you can find about their control over other species, Jai-Ho ordered. We need to understand what we're dealing with. As Mireya worked, Lieutenant Newell Kim suddenly called out from the science station. Captain, I'm detecting something strange. The station's power source. It's exactly like the energy in the transport network. The Concordat didn't build the network, Chief Engineer Sun Ma Cho said, looking at her own readings. And they didn't build this station either. They found all of this, just like we thought. The main screen filled with files as Mireille broke through the station's security. The bridge crew watched in silence as thousands of years of history unfolded before them. It's all here, Mireille said quietly. The Concordat found this technology 10,000 years ago. But instead of sharing it, they used it to control other species. They created rules about how technology should develop. Any species that developed differently was isolated or stopped. Like Earth, Jiho said. Yes. Mireille brought up more files. They've been watching us for centuries. Every time humanity made a big scientific breakthrough, they worked to slow us down. Wars, economic problems, lost research. The Concordat was behind much of it. But they couldn't stop us completely, Sun Ma added. Our quantum shield technology proved that. We found a different path, one they never imagined. New alarms started sounding. Multiple ships entering the nearby streams. Jinwoo reported. The Concordat fleet is coming. Show me the files about their fleet, Jiho ordered. Mireille brought up the information. The bridge crew leaned forward in surprise. The Concordat's ships all followed the same designs, used the same weapons, and had the same weaknesses. They hadn't developed new technology in thousands of years. They're not just controlling other species, Hainul realized. They're trapped by their own rules. They're so focused on keeping things the same that they've stopped growing. Captain, Mireille called out. I found something about Admiral Lee. The Concordat didn't just convince him to join them. They changed him. His human creativity, his ability to think in new ways. They removed it all. They turned him into what they thought a perfect citizen should be. Jiho stood up from his captain's chair. He looked at each member of his crew, humans who had dared to think differently, to question, to explore. The Concordat saw these qualities as dangerous, but they were actually humanity's greatest strength. Send all of this data to Earth, he ordered, and then send it across every communication channel we can access. The other species need to know the truth. The Concordat doesn't have the right to control how anyone develops. Sir, Jinwoo reported, the first Concordat ships are almost here. At least 30 vessels. Let them come, Jiho said calmly. They've been living in fear of change for 10,000 years. It's time to show them that progress can't be stopped. Humanity isn't a threat to the galaxy. We're the key to its future. The data from the Central Archive changed everything. As the thunderstorm moved through the network of purple energy streams, they began receiving messages from other species. The truth about the Concordat's control had spread quickly across the galaxy. Security Chief Jinwoo Choi led the first diplomatic meeting on his captain's behalf. The ship had docked at a hidden station belonging to the Quantum Collective, a species that looked like tall, blue-skinned humans with silver eyes. Their leader, First Speaker Ara, met with Jinwoo in a conference room filled with floating lights. Your ship's arrival has caused quite a stir, Ara said. Her voice was musical, but her eyes showed years of suppressed anger. The Concordat told us we were primitive because we wanted to explore quantum science. Now we learn that humans have mastered it. We didn't know we were breaking their rules, Jinwoo explained. We simply followed the path that made sense to us. Our quantum shields were created because we asked questions the Concordat had forbidden. Back on the Thunderstorm's bridge, Captain Jiho Park watched the meeting through the security feeds. Communications Officer Myra Song worked beside him, managing the flood of incoming messages from other species. The Stellar Assembly wants to meet next, Mireille reported. They're experts in energy technology. The Concordat forced them to abandon their research into new power sources 50 years ago, and the deep space clans after them. Lieutenant Hainul Kim added from his station. They've been secretly developing their own version of the transport network. They want to share their findings with us. In the conference room, First speaker Ara showed Jinwu her people's hidden research. We continued our quantum studies in secret, she said, but we could never test our theories properly. The Concordat's monitoring systems would have detected any large experiments. We can help each other, Jinwu offered. Our shield technology could protect your research facilities, and your understanding of quantum science might help us improve our systems further. Chief Engineer Sun Micho, who had joined the meeting, studied the Quantum Collective's designs with growing excitement. These ideas, they're brilliant. We approached quantum engineering from a different direction, but together we could create something revolutionary. The station shook suddenly. Warning lights flashed. Concordat ships approaching. Came Hay Newell's voice over the comm system. A full battle fleet this time. But something was different now. As the thunderstorm prepared for battle, other ships appeared from the purple energy streams. Ships of the Quantum Collective, sleek and fast. Ships of the Stellar Assembly, glowing with powerful energy cores. Ships of the Deep Space Clans, moving in ways the Concordat had declared impossible. We're not alone anymore, Jaiho said, watching the Allied ships gather around the thunderstorm. The Concordat's control was based on keeping species separate, making each of us think we were alone in questioning their rules. Captain, Mireille called out. Message from Admiral Lee's flagship. He's demanding we surrender and restore the Concordat's authority. Jaiho looked at the growing fleet of Allied ships on his screen. Each species had developed different technologies, different solutions, different ways of thinking. Together, they were stronger than any single path the Concordat tried to force them to follow. Send a reply to Admiral Lee, he ordered. Tell him the age of control is over. The galaxy is ready for change, ready for freedom to grow and develop naturally. The Concordat can join us in this new future, or they can stand aside. As Jinwu returned to the bridge, the Allied fleet moved into formation around the thunderstorm. The battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin. Admiral Lee's grand fleet emerged from the purple transport streams in waves. 500 Concordat ships filled space around the Central Archive Station, their silver hulls gleaming. They moved into a perfect attack formation, just as they had done for thousands of years. On the thunderstorm's bridge, Captain Jaiho Park watched calmly. His ship now led a fleet of its own. 200 vessels from different species, each bringing their own unique technology to the fight. Message from Earth Fleet Command. Communications Officer Mai Risong announced. Our ships have successfully entered the transport network. They will arrive in 10 minutes. The Concordat fleet is charging weapons, Security Chief Jinwu reported. Same energy patterns as before. They haven't adapted their technology at all. Admiral Lee's face appeared on the main screen. He looked older now, tired. This is your final chance, Captain Park. Surrender now, or we will destroy every ship that stands against the Concordat's order. Look at your fleet, Admiral, Jaiho replied. 500 ships, all exactly the same. You've turned uniformity into a weakness. Every ship in our alliance brings something different to this fight. Diversity breeds chaos, Lee said firmly. The Concordat maintains order through control. This is how the galaxy has survived for 10,000 years. Survived, but not grown. Jaiho stood from his captain's chair. You've forgotten what it means to be human, Admiral. We don't just survive. We evolve. We adapt. We create. All ships, open fire, Lee commanded. Green energy beams shot from the Concordat ships, filling space with deadly light. But the Allied fleet was ready. The thunderstorm's quantum shields glowed blue, absorbing the attack. Beside them, ships of the Quantum Collective phased in and out of normal space, making the enemy weapons pass harmlessly through them. The Stellar Assembly's vessels surrounded themselves with energy fields that turned the attacks back on their sources. Earth fleet arriving, Mireille called out. Dozens of human ships appeared from the transport streams, all equipped with quantum shield technology. Show them what humanity can do, Jaiho ordered. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in 10,000 years. Human ships moved in unpredictable patterns, their quantum shields protecting not just themselves but their allies. The quantum collective's vessels appeared and disappeared, striking from impossible angles. The stellar assembly unleashed new forms of energy weapons that bypassed the Concordat's ancient defenses. On his flagship, Admiral Lee watched in growing horror as his perfect formation fell apart. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our simulations showed this could never happen." "That was your mistake." Jaiho's voice came through the command channel. "You tried to predict the future based on the past. But when species are free to develop naturally, the future becomes something no one can predict." The battle lasted less than an hour. The Concordat's identical ships had no defense against the varied technologies of the Allied fleet. One by one, their weapons were disabled, their engines shut down, their crews forced to accept that their age of control was over. "Admiral Lee's flagship is powering down," Jinwoo reported. "They're surrendering." Jaiho looked at the disabled Concordat fleet on his screen. "Send medical teams to help their wounded. Show them that our way isn't about destruction. It's about growth and cooperation." As the human captain gave orders to help their former enemies, the Central Archive Station glowed with new light. The ancient technology, freed from the Concordat's restrictions, seemed to respond to the change in the galaxy. The purple energy streams shined brighter, opening new paths that had been closed for millennia. 1 month after the Great Battle, the Central Archive Station hosted a different kind of gathering. Representatives from hundreds of species filled its halls, including many who had been kept isolated from each other by the Concordat's rules. Captain Jaiho Park stood at the main podium, looking out at the diverse assembly. "The age of control is over," he announced. "Today, we create something new. The Galactic Scientific Council, not to restrict research, but to share it. Not to control development, but to support it." In the front row, first speaker Ara of the Quantum Collective nodded in approval. Beside her sat leaders of the Stellar Assembly, the Deep Space Clans, and dozens of other species who had hidden their technological advances from the Concordat. They were hidden no longer. Chief Engineer Sun Micho presented the first proposal to the Council. By combining human quantum shield technology with the Quantum Collective's research, we've created a new form of protection that any ship can use. This is just the beginning of what we can achieve together. The station's massive screens showed ships from different species already being fitted with the new shields. The technology worked differently for each species, adapting to their unique understanding of science. This was exactly what the Concordat had feared: unpredictable, uncontrolled development. "And what about the Concordat members?" someone asked from the crowd. Security Chief Jinwoo stepped forward to answer. "They've been offered a choice. Many have already chosen to join our council as equals. Their experience is valuable, even if their methods were wrong." In a secure room deep within the station, Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim and Communications Officer Myra Song were interviewing Admiral Lee. The former Concordat leader sat quietly, the technological changes that had made him loyal to the Concordat slowly being reversed by human medical science. "I remember now," Lee said softly. "I remember why I loved exploring space when I was young. Everything was new, exciting, full of possibilities. The Concordat took that from me. They took my humanity." "It wasn't your fault," Mayray assured him. "But now you can help us understand the Concordat's records. Help us find other species they isolated." Back in the main hall, Captain Park concluded the first council meeting. "The transport network is now open to all species who wish to use it. The Central Archive's knowledge is freely available, but most importantly, every species is free to develop in their own way, at their own pace." He looked out at the assembled representatives. Some looked human-like, others were completely alien. Some floated in the air, others moved on many legs, and still others existed as patterns of pure energy. Each had their own way of thinking, their own path of development. "Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology," Jaiho said. "It was our ability to imagine new possibilities, to think in different ways, to challenge what others called impossible. Now every species in the galaxy has that same freedom. The thunderstorm remained docked at the station, its quantum shields glowing softly. The ship that had started this revolution would soon return to Earth, carrying stories of their adventures and invitations for human scientists to share their knowledge with other species. As Jai-Ho walked back to his ship, he passed viewing windows that showed the purple transport streams glowing brighter than ever. New paths were appearing daily as species discovered their own ways to interact with the ancient network. The galaxy was changing, growing, becoming more than the Concordat had ever allowed it to be. "Captain," Jin Woo called out, "Earth Fleet Command is asking when we'll return home." Jai-Ho smiled. "Tell them we'll return soon. But remind them that home is a much bigger place now. The whole galaxy is open to us, to everyone. And this is just the beginning."